Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice of radio, so I've made a podcast. But we're not watching a podcast today. No. We are watching a video from the St Austell down in Cornwall in the UK Regional Championships. Now this happened in the expanded format, so all the sets are legal from black and white all the way through to breakpoint. We are playing 50 minutes and we are playing best of 3. Huge thank you to Vinnie Gardner and all at Mad for Miniatures for making us especially welcome and comfortable and doing everything they could to help. They are lovely, lovely people. If you're in the area, if you're in Cornwall in the UK, check them out. As always, ladies and gentlemen, grab yourself a nice cold beverage or warm, I don't want to tell you what to do, and enjoy this game from St Austell Regional Championships. Best of 3, 50 minutes, black and white to breakpoint. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so we are in the 5th and final round of our regional championship in St Austell down in Cornwall in the UK. And of course, Cornwall, being my part of the world, is a place that is very special to me. On the left, we've got Nick Pearce. He is going to be playing Speed Darkrai. He starts with a Dark Explorer's Darkrai in the active. He gets his Caldeo on the bench, and he is straight into a Trainer's Mail. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Find a trainer card you find there, be it a supporter, stadium, tool, item, etc. Well, I suppose tools are items when we get down to it. And he grabs himself a Dark Patch. That is, of course, the item that allows you to attach an energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Dark Pokemon. And it gets an Ultra Ball discarding a Dark Energy and a Colress, which means he's going to be able to get a Hooper, which will get him a Dark Pokemon, which he can then play Dark Patch to get the energy onto that Dark Pokemon. Hooper, of course, is that EX, which, if you're playing an EX heavy deck, it is all about Hooper EX. Use an Ultra Ball to get Hooper, use Hooper to search out any free EXs from your deck, and now we see there Nick's going for a Darkrai and a Shaman, and presumably he'll want to get another one. Now, usually, I would say, you know what? It's not really worth Nick filling up his bench here. But I would advise he does fill up his bench, because Corey's going to be playing a Skyfield. Now, he might be trying to play a Shaman, hoping to run into another one. Now, that's a Max Elixir. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck. If you find a basic energy, attach it to one of your bench basic Pokemon. And he puts it on Caldeo. Now remember, Caldeo's got that rush-in ability. He can jump in the active. That Darkrai Nick's got allows him to have free retreat on any Pokemon with a Dark Energy attached. So he's now essentially got a perma retreat, which is pretty handy, to be perfectly honest. And he gets that Dark Patch, and he gets a Shaman. Now he has got that, he has got his Dowsing Machine in hand, which is going to allow him to discard 2 cards in his hand and grab a trainer from his discard pile. Now we see another Max Elixir there. Now we've had Nick on stream already this tournament, and I'll say this game what I said in that. One of the things you got to remember is it might look like, hang on a second, Nick's hitting a Dark Energy every time he plays a Max Elixir, and you know what? He should. If you're looking at 6 cards, that is 10% of your deck. So if you're playing 10 energy, you should see an energy, statistically. Well, Nick's playing 12 energy, so Nick absolutely should hit an energy off all 4 of his Max Elixir. So, yeah, go Nick, quite frankly. And of course, he's going to be using the Breakpoint Darkrai, which essentially allows you to pile a whole bunch of energy on him and smash. He does a load of energy, a lot of damage, depending on how much energy is attached to all of your Pokemon. Now, the reason I said about Nick filling up his bench, Corey's playing Rayquaza, and that means that Corey is going to be playing the Skyfield Stadium card. So what Nick can actually do, because Nick's playing his own stadiums here, he's playing Verbank City Gym, Nick can essentially fill up his bench to more, because Skyfield likes to have 8 bench Pokemon. So Nick can fill up his bench until he's got, I don't know, 7 bench Pokemon, including 2 Shaman, and then replace the stadium. And when you do that, both players then have to discard until they've got a bench of 5, because as soon as Skyfield goes away, you can't have 8 bench Pokemon, you can have 5. So that will allow Nick to basically put a couple of Shaman on his bench, but then get rid of them when he replaces the Skyfield, meaning that those Shaman are not on the bench. And that could make a difference. Corey's Rayquaza does an attack which does 30 damage times the number of bench Pokemon that he has. Now, if Corey can't find a Skyfield, that means he can only do 150 damage. Not enough to KO a Keldeo, or a Hoopa, or a Darkrai, but it is enough damage to KO a Shaman. So if Nick can put himself in a position where he can actually get his bench with no Shaman on, and the way to do that is to fill up your bench and then replace a stadium, putting both players down to 5 bench and discarding the Shaman, then he can actually put Corey in a position where he might miss a KO. So Nick's done a lot of things there. He's got a very fast deck. He played Battle Compressor, which allowed him to discard 3 cards from his deck, and one of the things he discarded was a Professor Juniper, or Profesora Encina if you're in Spain, or a Spanish-speaking country, or just like the language. And then he used Dowsing Machine to discard 2 cards from his hand so that he could grab that Juniper back, which he just put in the discard pile, with his Battle Compressor, and boom, he Junipers, he gets a new hand of 7, and he goes into the active with Keldeo. Oh, look at this. This is Nick's first turn of the game, and he's got 5 energy on the field. That is really good. Now, I was going to say, Nick needed to retreat into the Hooper there. The reason is Corey's playing this Rayquaza deck. It's very explosive. It's going for a turn 1 KO. So Nick wants to leave a Pokemon in the active that he doesn't mind getting KO'd. Obviously, he'd rather not get an EX KO'd and lose 2 prizes. That's kind of the opposite of what you want to do. But if you're going to lose a Pokemon, it might as well be the Hooper, because you kind of need the Keldeo and the 2 Darkrai's. The other thing is you don't want to leave the Shaman active, because as it is, Nick's saying, right, if you can get a Mega Rayquaza with 3 energy and 6 bench Pokemon, we'll talk about how we'll do that in a minute, if you can do that, you can KO my Hooper. Whereas with a Shaman, he only needs 4 bench Pokemon, and he won't need that Skyfield Stadium card to do it. Okay, well, he's already got the Skyfield, but that's not the point. Now, crucially here, Corey plays a Battle Compressor, gets rid of an energy and a couple supporters. The energy can be recycled using the Mega Turbo item card. It's kind of like Dark Patch, except instead of attaching to a bench Dark Pokemon, you attach to a Mega Pokemon. And a couple of supporters he can reuse with VS Seeker. And then he plays an N. Now, Corey wants an explosive start here. He wants to draw a whole bunch of cards. He wants to bench Shaman after Shaman and really get going. Playing an N for 6 after doing basically nothing, playing a Battle Compressor and a Shaman, that is not what Corey wanted to do. So he's going to need to get things going here. So Corey's going to need 3 energy on the Rayquaza. That means a double colorless, which he's got, and it means a Mega Turbo. Now, he's also going to need to Mega Revolve, but the beautiful thing is that the Mega Rayquaza, the colorless one, has the ancient trait Delta Evolution, which means that you can evolve him on the first turn of the game and when he hasn't been down for a turn. That's pretty cool. You also have the Spirit Link tool, so you attach Spirit Link to Rayquaza. That means you can Mega Evolve without ending your turn. The Delta Evolution on the Rayquaza means that you can Mega Evolve on turn 1, and then you play a Mega Turbo to get free energy on Rayquaza. But Corey has no Mega Rayquaza. He has no Spirit Link. He has no Mega Turbo. He has 2 bench Pokemon. He needed 6. So Nick has gotten away with it there, and he's got a couple of Fighting Fury belts on those Darkrai. That means that he actually is in this beautiful position where Corey doesn't need 6 bench Pokemon to get the KO. He needs 7, 8, because Darkrai's now got 220 HP, and if he's only got 7, then that means he's only doing 210 HP, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is not enough. Now, Nick takes advantage of his Colress here, I believe. Although this isn't the best Colress he's going to get. Shuffle your hand into your deck. Draw until you've got as many cards as you have. Both players have bench Pokemon. Now, clearly Corey's playing Skyfield here, so you could have up to 16 Pokemon in play. There's only 6. So this is not the best Colress Nick is going to be looking for this game. Now, you see there, Nick has got a Shaman, he's got an Evil Talon, he's got a couple of Ultra Balls. If I were Nick, I would try and get that Shaman and the Evil Talon down, try and get your Burbank City Gym, so that you can get rid of those Shaman. Now, as it is, he gets his Darkrai in the active, and this does 2 things. Number 1, it KOs the Shaman, gets Nick 2 prizes. Number 2, it does 30 bench damage to that Rayquaza. Now, there's the Spirit Link. Did he have the Mega last turn? No, he can't have had the Mega last turn, because even without a Spirit Link, you'd still evolve it and just end your turn. This doesn't. I mean, Corey's going to need something, and he's going to need something quick, ladies and gentlemen. Nick is putting on an awful lot of pressure. Now, that Rayquaza, when he Mega Evolves, he's got 210 HP. That's a lot of HP. So doing that 30 damage brings it down to 180. That makes it easier for Nick to hit the maths he's going to need in order to get the KO with Dark Pulse. That is the attack of that Breakpoint Darkrai. 20 damage, plus 20 more for each Dark Energy attached to all of your Pokemon. So Nick's currently got 6 Dark Energy out. He'd be doing 140 damage. 6 energy times 20 is 120. Add the 20 base is 140. Thing is, if that Darkrai gets KO'd, that's a bad thing, because it means that he's losing free energy, or to put it another way, he's losing 60 damage, and, you know, it's not ideal. But Corey, I mean, does he have a VS Seeker here? He does. So he's played 2 Battle Compressor, so he basically, that has allowed him to discard as many cards as he likes from, it's allowed him to discard as many cards as he likes from that, sorry, so up to many cards. It has allowed him to discard 3 Pokemon from, what am I saying? 6 cards total from his deck, including any supporter he might like, and that's very useful. Now, you see he plays a Pokemon fan club there, and that means that he is able to search for 2 Pokemon. One of the ones he searched for was a Hooper, which allows him to search for 3 EXs. And now you see, and look what Corey's done just in the last minute or 2. This has really, really helped him out. He's gotten all those Pokemon that he needs. That's basically 4 Pokemon in total, plus the Hooper. And if nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, it has allowed him to go ahead and, you know, put that Hooper on his bench. See where we're going with this? That is good. It means he's got a whole bunch of Pokemon on his bench. It means he's drawn a whole bunch of cards. Now, it looked like he might have got the Mega Rayquaza from the Pokemon Fan Club, and I'm not sure you're supposed to do that, but it doesn't really matter, truth be told, because he could have just got that from the Hooper. So he got 5 Pokemon in total, 2 from the fan club and then 3 from the Hooper. This is a huge, huge help, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, a huge help. Now, he has had to use 2 DCE, which is less than ideal, shall we say. He's going to need them later on. Yeah, and it is 2 basic Pokemon for Pokemon Fan Club. So he couldn't grab the Rayquaza, but of course he grabs, say, the Hooper and the Keldeo, and then he uses the Hooper to grab Shaman and Virizion and the Mega. So it didn't really make a difference. But we see there he's got 6 bench Pokemon. He does 180 damage, and that ain't enough, ladies and gentlemen. If it wasn't for the Fighting Fury belt, it would be enough, but he does have the Fighting Fury belt, so it's not enough. Now, one thing Corey can do next turn is use as a Rosic, and we did see Corey put as a Rosic in his discard pile, so we can reuse it with the S-Seeker. Use the Rosic to discard that Fighting Fury belt. It's a supporter that allows you to discard any tool or special energy attached to either player's Pokemon. Another Max Elixir played, another energy hit. But you see, and then that would get rid of the Fighting Fury bout, which would KO the Darkrai. But the thing is, that would be Corey's supporter for the turn. And Corey doesn't have a Rayquaza down. So if this Rayquaza gets KO'd, Corey is going to need to grab a Rayquaza, and a Spirit Link, and a Mega Rayquaza, and a DCE, and a Mega Turbo just to get an attack off next turn. Now it's doable, but it's going to take a lot. Now we start turning our attention to this Breakpoint Darkrai. Because now, he's got enough. He's got 8 energy on the field. 8 times 20 is 160. Add the bench damage. Add the base. No, I might be doing this wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I might be underselling Rayquaza's HP. I'm thinking 210. I think it actually might be 220, the Mega Rayquaza. In which case, I'm about to look a little bit silly. So at the moment, he's actually doing 180. Add the 30 damage already on the Rayquaza, and it is 220. I caught myself in time. So he's actually 10 damage short. If he can hit a Hypnotoxic Laser here, then that will do the extra 10 damage. And I think he's only played the 1 so far, but he doesn't have it. How annoying. Oh, no, he's still going. And that's the laser. That's huge. So now he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dark energy is 160. Add the 20 base is 180. And if he hits on this, there we go. So now he's doing 200 damage with that Darkrai from Breakpoint, which will be enough to KO that Rayquaza, because he'll do 200 damage plus the 30 is 230. He'll go down to 2 prizes remaining, and that's huge for Nick. And he's got all that energy still on the field. He's got 7 energy that aren't on that Breakpoint Darkrai. This is huge right now. Nick, and it's not just the 2 prizes. It's not just keeping the energy. It's the fact that Nick is going to be able to go, okay, Corey, I've got 9 energy on the field. I'm down to 2 prizes remaining, and I can KO whatever you've got. Feel free to KO my Darkrai. But you're going to need a Rayquaza, a Mega Rayquaza, a Spirit Link, a DCE, a Mega Turbo. And while we're at it, that will only actually give you 6 bench Pokemon. So you're going to need a 7th bench Pokemon. But wait a second, that's only going to do 210 damage. You're going to need 8 bench Pokemon. So just to go through this again, Rayquaza, Mega Rayquaza, Spirit Link, DCE, Mega Turbo, and 2 other bench Pokemon. 7 bench Pokemon, 210 damage. Darkrai's got 180. Add the Fighting Fury bout, puts him up to 220. Which means it is not going to be enough to have 7 bench Pokemon and do 210 damage. While we're here, this format we're in at the moment, it's not enough to do... It's not enough to do 210 damage. And apparently I've started hiccuping. But as I'm essentially recording a live game, these hiccups are staying, hopefully not for long. I mean, how ridiculous is that? That Corey can do 210 HP with a Mega EX. And it might not be enough. But here we go. He's got a Shaman. This is good. Now, if he had a second Hooper, he could have used Hooper to search for Rayquaza, Mega Rayquaza Shaman. So he must not have another Hooper. Now, I mean, Hooper's so big and so important to a lot of these decks. There are a bunch of people that actually have now started playing 2 Hooper just for fear of one being prized. I know when I played Rayquaza at the previous regional championship, I actually did play 2 Hooper. And I had an amazing game where I had the KO all ready to go. At both my Hooper were prized. So we see a computer search here. Corey is able to discard 2 cards from his hand, search for any 2 cards. And to be honest, at this stage, Corey should start thinking about scooping, about giving up the game. Not because he's a rubbish player, not because he's got no hope, but because this is a 50-minute best of 3. he doesn't have a huge amount of time here to go about winning 2 complete games. Now, to give you a bit of context, and by the way, if Nick wins game 1 and game 2 doesn't finish, Nick wins a series. Nick wins game 1, Corey wins game 2, game 3 doesn't finish, it's a tie. Now, where we are at this moment, this game is actually huge for both players. As we sit here, neither player has their worlds invite. They're both pretty close. Now, if this ends in a draw, they are both going to have enough match points to potentially make top cut. But at least one player is going to bubble. That means they're going to have enough points to make top cut. But there's going to be too many people. The 8th and 9th player are going to have the same amount of points, and they're going to bubble, which means it's going to come down to your opponent's win percentage as a tiebreaker, and you're going to lose. So both these players have a very good chance of making top 8 with a draw. But neither player is guaranteed, and you see there Corey does scoop. He goes, you know what? I need time, and actually he probably went, I'm not getting the attack off this turn, so I'm just going to go ahead and, you're going to win next turn, let's save a minute. Now, if Nick makes top 8, he's into Worlds. I believe Corey needs to get a bit further than top 8 to get his invite. I think he might need a top 4 or a top 2. Excuse me. But he's very, very close. They're both very close. So this is a huge game. A win for Nick guarantees a Worlds invite. A win for Corey gets him very close to a Worlds invite. A draw may put Nick in and Corey close, or it may put one of them out. I apologise about the hiccups. I record these as live games, so it means trying to stop and then restart again, it becomes very silly. I am hiding my hiccups as best I can. The odd one or two might get through. If you wish, you can put a hashtag of hiccups rock or we forgive you, something like that. Make me feel a bit better. I mean, they don't rock, they're incredibly inconvenient. Now, I should at this stage give a huge shout out and a thank you to Mad for Miniatures, the lovely venue where this game was recorded, and to Vinny Gardner, the proprietor of said establishment. Lovely chap, made it very, very easy for us to record. And, of course, to Nick and Corey for agreeing to be on stream. They are lovely people. So, Nick starts with a breakpoint Darkrai. That's the one with a good attack. I think it is. Yeah. And Corey's got his Caldeo there. Corey needs a better start than he had last game. Going to be perfectly honest with you, Corey needs a better start. Now, he's going to go for his Hooper here. Why would he not? And then he's going to grab out a Rayquaza, a Shaman, maybe a Mega Rayquaza. Problem is, if you evolve without the Spirit Link, then you end your turn. And to be perfectly honest, if you grab it and don't evolve, that's just, Shaman lets you draw until you've got 6 cards in hand. So it just means that's one less card that you're drawing with Shaman, which can be a pain. So he's going to go for a Shaman here. I mean, you might just go for 2 Shamans. End of the day, he needs to fill up his bench. Oh, a Jirachi. Oh, I know what he's going to do here. Because Jirachi has an ability that allows you to search your deck for any supporter. And Corey doesn't need a turn. Oh, he's got the Spirit Link. Oh, and he's got the Mega. Sweet. So he had the Mega and the Spirit Link in hand, which is why he didn't go for the Mega. Now, and he gets a second. Now, you notice, and another Spirit Link. Now, last game, Corey never got that second Rayquaza down, and that really hurt him. Now he's already got it down. He's going for a Getsis, as long as it's not prized. Because he's going first, and a turn 1 Getsis when you go first is huge. Oh, no. Now, the good news is, Corey gets 4 cards. Nick reveals his hand and puts all his item cards into his deck. Corey draws as many cards as Nick shuffles in. Nick had 4 cards, and Corey now draws 4 cards. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Nick's got Hooper in hand. And he's got a Chorus. So Nick is going to have a monster turn 1. Seriously, in this matchup, they are, without exaggeration, the 2 best cards he could have. Corey did everything right there. Everything right. He got his Rayquazas, he played the Getsis, and Getsis was the supporter to play. But oh my goodness, did Nick have a good hand. And what you can do here, if your opponent doesn't have a good supporter or a Shaman or a Hooper, you can get rid of your opponent's Trainer's Mail, VS Seeker, Battle Compressor, Ultra Ball. And essentially, you can leave your opponent with a handful of useless Pokemon and energy and sit there and laugh in their face while they can't draw anything. And that's what turn 1 Getsis does. It basically puts your opponent on a clock where you go, oh, well, you see, I went first. And I set up quite nicely, and I'm going to be attacking you and taking KOs. And I'm sorry, but now you've got no cards in hand, so you're going to sit there drawing cards and passing and not doing anything while I take these KOs in your stupid face. That is the aim with a turn 1 Getsis. So, quite frankly, you've got to feel sorry for Corey here. Game 1, it just didn't go his way. It just didn't go his way, and that's fine. These games happen. Nick had a monster setup, and Nick's deck. I played Nick. Nick has got a consistent deck. And Corey's got a monster deck as well. You know, they're both in a win and in. They're both having a good day. They've both got good decks. But it's not working for Corey game 1. So game 2, he goes first and he's like, right, I'm going first. I've got my setup. I've got my turn 1 Getsis. And to see Nick draw out of it, it's just sad. So you see Nick there, he's got his Caldeo. That's important, as we said last game. He's got his other Darkrai, so he's got his Perma switch going on. He's got a Shaman, and he's got his Laser. And I might remind you, he's not actually played his supporter yet. He is far from done. And we know he's got a Chorus. And that means, as it stands, he's getting a hand of 10. Now, the other thing he might choose to do is Juniper here. And it was an interesting decision. Chorus allows him to shuffle his hand in and draw 10 cards. That's pretty good. Juniper allows him to get 7. And it would have put energy in the discard. And we know that he plays that Dark Patch item card, which allows him to attach that energy from the discard. So he needs that Dark in the discard. He needs to get a couple in there. So now he gets his 10 cards, and he's only had his manual attachment so far. And as a little point, a good play from Nick here, one of these subtle little plays. First energy goes on Keldeo. Trainer's Mail to get 2 Trainer's Mail. You can't get a Trainer's Mail from Trainer's Mail. It says it on the cut. But he gets a Lysander. So, the first energy goes on Caldeo because you want that rush in and retreat. And you need the energy on to do that. Also, the main attacker in Nick's deck is that Breakpoint Darkrai. You want to stash the energy on the field. And it's, Caldeo's not going to be in the active. Okay, that's impressive. He played a Trainer's Mail. And he hit 2 Trainer's Mail off it. And he had his 4th Trainer's Mail in his hand. It's a lot of Trainer's Mail. Now, finally, off the second one, he hits a Max Elixir. Now, he didn't fail a Max Elixir in his previous, and he doesn't fail it here. Almost a mistake there from Nick because, of course, one escaped. Trainer's Mail only allows you to attach to benched basic Pokemon. And clearly, now he's got the energy on the Caldeo, the next Pokemon to put energy on is the Darkrai so that you can get your attacks going. Had he not rushed in and had he left that Darkrai in the active, he would have... Oh, it really doesn't matter. He's got another Breakpoint Darkrai on the bench. He would have just attached to that. So actually, it didn't make any difference whatsoever. And I might be being a a little bit pedantic. And I pride myself on my pedantry. But I think that might have been a step too far. Is he finally going to... Oh, he failed one! Failed a max... Now, given that he's only got 2 energy on the field, and that he's got 6 Pokemon on the field, and we've seen all the trainers cards he's played, unless he's got a handful of energy, he really should have hit one off that. But, bad beats, these things happen. What can you do? So less of an explosive start from Nick here, and Corey's got to be licking his lips. Metaphorically, if he's licking his lips in real life, that would be weird. And what Corey's got to be thinking here is, you know what? Nick hasn't got much energy on the field here. Nick's not got a big attack this turn, and you know what? He's probably not got a big attack next turn. And again, Nick retreats into the Hooper, because if somebody's getting KO'd, it might as well be a Hooper. Now, this sleep flip is going to be huge. Because, of course, Corey relies on Caldeo to rush in and retreat like Nick does. Oh, and it's a 1. So now Corey's going to have to play something like a Switch or an AZ to get that Caldeo out of the active. And that's annoying, quite frankly. Now, the good news is he's got the Skyfield. He needs but 1 benched Pokemon in order to get the KO here. So he's got the energy in hand, as we can see. Oh, okay. Now, he puts a grass energy on Caldeo. Now, Corey plays Virizion. Oh, and here's going to be a Colress for 10 for Corey. Virizion's got the ability, which means that any of your Pokemon with a grass energy attached cannot be affected by special conditions. So, if he gets a Virizion on the bench, then that will immediately kick in, and it means that Caldeo will be neither poisoned nor asleep. Although Corey will still need a Float Stone to retreat the Caldeo, and he'll need a Mega Turbo to attach an energy to his Rayquaza, because he doesn't currently have enough energy on that Rayquaza. And he gets the Virizion, and there's a Battle Compressor, so he's going to have the energy in the discard. He just needs the Mega Turbo to actually attach it to the Rayquaza. And that Hex Maniac, it turns off abilities on both sides of the field until the end of your opponent's next turn. That could be big. Could be big. Well, the question is, does he have the Mega Turbo? And does he have the Float Stone? He's got the 6 bench Pokemon. Oh, and he's got at least 1 more bench. But he's got something coming out because he's making room on his bench. These playmats were designed for 6 bench Pokemon. Thank you to Susie Masters for lending us a playmat, by the way. That was very nice of her. Oh, he's got a Shaman. He's got an Ultra Ball. Now, he's already played... He can't use that AZ this turn, so he's going to need a Float Stone. He's going to need a Float Stone. But if he gets a Float Stone at a Mega Turbo, he's got the KO, he goes 2 prizes up, and he's got a 220 HP Rayquaza. That means he will need... Nick will need 10 energy for the KO. 10 energy! And if he gets the Mega Turbo, that means there's a grass energy on Rayquaza. That means Virizion's ability kicks in. That means Nick cannot use poison to do extra damage. No 9 energy laser Verbank. 10 energy. And that's a lot. Oh no, 8 energy laser Verbank with the Fighting Fury bout, because that adds 10 damage. So that's pretty big. And we might hear... Oh, he doesn't have it! He doesn't have the Float Stone. He doesn't have the Mega Turbo. Oh, that's huge. Because now... I mean, what I was thinking of for Corey was essentially, look, Corey's going to get a massive KO here. Nick is just not going to be able to get enough energy on the field. Corey is then going to go 4 prizes up, like Nick did last game, and that's basically going to be it. Although Nick does get a big chorus here. Now, Corey's got 7 bench and Nick's got 5. So chorus for 12. And this is one of the things that Corey's doing here. He's allowing Nick, by virtue of Skyfield and his giant bench, he's allowing Nick to draw a whole bunch of cards. Now, that Rayquaza's still on the bench, but there is a possibility of a KO here. That Caldeo's down to 140 HP, 6 energy plus the base. Doable. Absolutely doable. But then does Nick want to KO the Caldeo at the expense of then losing the Darkrai? Because remember, when that Darkrai goes down, Nick's only losing 2 energy, but he's losing 2 energy. So he'll still need a total of 10, or he's losing 4 prizes to the first Rayquaza. And to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, when we look at this matchup, Corey has the advantage. I would put Corey as the favourite here. Yes, Darkrai can be really fast, as we saw in the last game. Yes, Darkrai can get those big KOs, like we saw in the last game. But it's easier for the Rayquaza. Now, the Rayquaza needs the Mega and the Spirit Link and the DCE and the Mega Turbo. But that's a lot less than 10 energy on the field. It really is. And these Rayquaza decks with your Skyfield and your Force Shaman, it's a deck that is built to draw cards. Although I suppose one could argue that Nyx is a deck that's built to attach energy. But all things being considered, the way I tend to look at matchups is, I pretend both players are drawing equally. And I think if both players draw really well, or average, who's going to win this game? And if both players draw fantastically, Rayquaza's winning this game. Because Corey is going to be able to stream free energy Rayquazas more easily than Nick is going to be able to stream Darkrai's. Although I suppose you could argue that Corey needs a Skyfield and new bench Pokemon, whereas Nick just needs 2 energy to replace the 2 that were lost. I still give the edge to Rayquaza, though. I think this is a matchup for Rayquaza. Of course, the longer we go here, it's just looking like it's going to end in a draw. Even though Corey didn't get the attack last turn, make no mistake about it, Corey is in the driver's seat here. So if he wins game 2, we are not going to have much time for a game 3. It's just not on the cards. Get it? On the cards? Because it's a card game. Yeah, sorry about that. Now, there is even an argument here that it's really not the end of the world if that Caldeo gets KO'd. We know the Rayquaza is safe. Oh, that's a nice play from Nick. And with that, unfortunately, guys, that's the end. Now, what Nick did there was he replaced the Skyfield with a Verbank City gym so that Corey had to get the bench Pokemon. Now, unfortunately, we had camera problems at this stage, and it means we lost what is genuinely the best top 8 I've probably ever seen. The game between me and Nick in top 8, it went to about an hour and 20 minutes. It was monumental, and it got lost. It's annoying. Now, why did I still record this game? You saw 80% of the game. And we had a good discussion, and it was a good game, and we had some good talk, and you just missed the end. So let me fill you in. Corey drew Skyfield. Corey took 6 prizes in the next 3 turns. Game 3 had about 6 minutes. Neither player did anything. It was a draw. It was always going to be. You saw the meat of the game. If you didn't see enough, I wouldn't put this video up. But the fact is, all that happened was Corey got the Skyfield, took 6 prizes in 3 turns, KOing 3 EXs, and then there wasn't time for a game 3. You saw the vast majority. We talked about the matchup. We talked about their list. We talked about the players. And I think this video was very much worth putting up. If you think I shouldn't have put this video up, that's what the comment section is for. Make sure you like this video, ladies and gentlemen. It will make me happy. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so, and get someone else subscribe on your behalf if you have, and make sure you pop any comments down that you wish to say. This is it for Cornwall Regional Championship, but I've got a video about Zygarde coming up in a couple of days, and at the weekend I'm going to a standard league challenge, and games will be recorded. I've already had permission. Few People have been saying, come on, there's been a lot of expanded games. Where's my standard format games? And the answer is, well, we've just had a series of regionals that are all expanded. Excuse me, that was a loud one, that one. But I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, standard format games are coming. Apologies we missed the last few minutes of this game. Apologies for the hiccups, but you know what? I'm still proud enough of this video to put it up with my name on it. As always, the most important thing, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio. Part of me here that just wants to kind of sit in silence until I hiccup and then end the video on a loud hiccup might just be a bit weird.